Hello and welcome to another Warcraft 3 audio commentary. Of course, this is Game 2 for the WRL Best of 3 series between W4.DK.Lyn, also known as, in this game, Chek-Pu, spawning in as the Red Orc in the lower left. The map is Last Refuge 1.3. And he will be going up against IAM.EleGant, spawning in as the blue Night Elf in the upper right part of the map. And of course he's going to place his Ancient of War by this creep camp right here, because he wants to Ancient of War creep it. You probably figured that pattern out by now when you see an Ancient of War near a green camp at the start of the game. It's probably like, oh yeah, that's going to be an Ancient of War creep camp. But I keep saying it. You probably knew it before I ever said it. It's pretty much standard. It's been standard for a long time. So, and my voice has just been going out on me today. So hopefully that doesn't happen this game. Here we do see, of course, Blade Master coming out for Lyn, and Barracks over here for Chek-Pu, or Lyn. But I kind of like saying Chek-Pu. That's pretty cool. There's actually a Night Elf player, professional Night Elf player called Chek, not all that long ago. So whenever I read his name, the in-game name of Chek-Pu, I always think it's Chek, the Night Elf player, but it's like, oh, it's Orc, so it's like, oh yeah, it's Lyn. So a little bit of mind trivia, maybe that's, I don't know, I'm not sure that's trivia at all. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So we have Elegant. He, of course, here comes that Ancient of War creep. He starts before that hero comes out. Of course, it's gonna be a Demon Hunter, and of course we're gonna see the Blade Master and the Grunt coming out about the same time, and they're gonna go for a creep here. We will see a Scout Wisp coming down here saying what's going on at Lyn's base, and of course Lyn is like, you know, much of the same, you know, it's pretty much the same thing every day. You know, and so of course, you know, Elegant's like, oh, okay, well, I'll see you later then, you know, and Lyn's all like, yeah, later, you know, and so then Lyn moves out across the map, and all the while, Elegant's like, yeah, I'm gonna double back around and get a little more information, and so I'm not really sure that's what he was thinking, but I feel like that's probably what happened. But anyway, we see the Blade Master. He did sell his TP, picked up Circle of Nobility. From this creep camp right here, he will actually pick up a replenishment potion. Great little item. And we have that Demon Hunter now trying to find the Blade Master. With this whip down here, you can say, oh, well, I know that you're not creeping over there, and it doesn't look like it, so you're probably creeping over here. Well, he's like, I saw your Blade Master run up towards my base, so I know you're not creeping down there. He's like, but I will go check. And he's like, ah, well, I found you here. Here you are indeed. And you're going to see that Grunt running, going to pull the Demon Hunter away, and he's going to try to finish his creep camp off with the Blade Master. However, not going to happen. And this is one of those cases where, yeah, go ahead, pop on the Demon Hunter, and then Windwalk again immediately. It's better to pop on the Demon Hunter in this case than the creep, because of course, if you pop on the creep, it gets really low. Then Blade Master says, or the Demon Hunter says, I'm going to go for it. But if the Demon Hunter is sticking around anyway, then you might as well go ahead and do that. And then you can see, yeah, Blade Master running out of mana, saying, okay, now you can't really effectively mana burn me. So now I'm in a situation where I can just go ahead and open up on you and try to force you away. And in the meantime, we will see the Demon Hunter coming down here. It's about to hit 1900, and so he wants to pick up Dust as well as Boots of Speed, most likely both of them. He might only have one of them depending on the amount of gold. He's got plenty of gold actually. He's gonna pick up Dust, or Boots of Speed, and then Dust. So there you have that, and over here we'll see that this is Lyn. Of course, I got my Grunts down here and my Blade Master here. Oh, I did it again. Horrible, weird throat breathy, airy sound, I don't know. So anyway, we have over here now the Blade Master going for some damage on those archers, and a beautiful dodge, if you notice that, from the Blade Master with a Windwalk right there. He got hit by an arrow, but it actually didn't do any damage to him, because he had a that thingy right there that he was on, this potion of regeneration, and he was like, yes, I will use that, and I don't want that canceled by the archers. And so that's essentially what we just saw. Now, we did just see him getting mana burned. Unfortunately, he was dusted. He didn't use his Windwalk. And so now he's down to 20, 30 mana. So that's, you know, good job by Elegant. It was a very nice reveal with the dust. And over here, we can look at the quick tech. We can see that the Night Elf player about to hit tier 2. And then once again, Lyn's slightly ahead in tech, but he's also about to hit tier 2. Down here, we'll see that Lyn is creeping out. And of course, he is leveling to level 2 on the Blade Master. And over here, we'll see that Demon Hunter is also getting fairly close to level 2, but he's going to have to creep something. Potentially this, or potentially he will continue to search across the map for this Orc army, saying, I will find the Horde, and when I do, I will probably run away from them, because that's what Demon Hunters do. They're like, I will come until I'm on screen so you know I'm there, but I won't do anything further than that. And actually, again, we're going to see the Naga coming out as the second hero, and again, that Dust saying, I found your I found your grunts. I'm gonna look for you. And this is, again, this is very aggressive Naga build, and it's actually very interesting. I'm not, maybe I misread it last game, because now I really don't think Elegant was ahead in this game. I think he was actually a bit behind going into this situation, but he went ahead and picked up the Naga regardless, and that's actually very clever, I think, all things considered, because it's very good with that Blade Master not being anywhere near those grunts. It gives basically just gave Elegant a free grunt kill right there, and I'm not sure he got the experience for it. I think he did, but I'm not sure he did. You know, but still, nonetheless, it worked out really nicely. And of course, now we can see once they've rejoined, of course, these grunts are actually a lot weaker. We will see one of those archers going down, and the second archer will be dusted, so there's a chance it'll go down. We'll have to wait and see. And of course, now you can see this Demon Hunter is in a fairly bad spot, actually going to be forced to TP, and that's going to be fairly expensive, not something you really want to do, you know, ideally, but he did get 2 grunt kills, so that's 400 gold down for the Orc player, and only, you know, well, I don't know, 350, and then, let's see, 145 for the archer, I think. So I think, you know, maybe Lyn's slightly ahead because of that TP, but, you know, being down 2 grunts as an Orc player is really a lot more harmful than I think it is for the Night Elf player to go ahead and spin that TP and lose an archer, because he's, you know, the Orc player is generally planning to keep those grunts alive, whereas the Night Elf player is like, I mean, if the archers stay alive, it's cool, but, you know, I'm not really going to send a taxi for them if they get lost or something. You know, they're not really all that concerned. They'll just be like, run into creeps, I don't care. So it's just, at least that's my perception, which may or may not be the perception of a professional player like IAM.EleGant, you know, so take it as you want, but that's that's the way I tend to look at it. Now down here, of course, we're going to see Torn Chieftain once again as the second hero for Lyn. He will go ahead and creep out this gold camp with his remaining grunts, and bringing actually a peon over here, indicating he probably wants to go ahead and expo this. Now, it did get ensnared. Normally that's a bad idea. Normally that's a big no-no. In this case, not really a huge deal, simply because, as you can see, once that the troll went down, he was like almost unensnared anyway. It doesn't really matter this time. Of course, there was a wisp. It did go ahead and pick up a scouting information. Now that's really intriguing that Lyn would actually go for an expansion at this point after he lost 2 grunts in the early game. So he's down, you know, 400 gold, and he's like, screw it, I'm going. Oh, I was like, did he go double Spirit Lodge? No, he just had probably a Spirit Walker chilling out in his base. He's like, but just like, screw it, I'm down 400 gold, I'm just gonna throw up an expansion, and we'll see if that works out for him. Of course, it did get scouted, so Elegant does know about it. He's very well aware of it. He saw that peon sitting there ensnared, waiting to build, because that was the only reason that you'd have a peon there ensnared, period. And yeah, so we're, you know, Elegant, we're gonna see how Elegant decides to respond to that. Of course, Elegant might just decide, I'll wait for, you know, my Cyclone to come out, and because this is gonna take a while. There's no real benefit, probably 85% of the time, to hit an expo that an opponent, especially an Orc, is slow building. As soon as it happens, as soon as they throw it down, because it's going to take quite some time. As you can see, it takes a long time to build it, and then furthermore, it takes even longer because you actually start mining from it and seeing any kind of benefit. And so really what you can do is you can sit there and you can even bank at 50 food, or you can get as much, you know, get all the way up to 50 food, get as much of an army as you can to come down here and attack this before this kicks in, because this is expensive. This is, you know, 400 gold essentially, 400 gold, 200 wood being tied up in this building. It's not giving any benefit to Lyn, and you know, he's already 400 gold down. It's essentially 800 gold being spent. Never mind that you have a peon now as well this year, and then you have to have 5 peons mining. So this is an expensive endeavor, and it's something that you simply don't have to attack immediately. You can wait. For example, you can wait for your Cyclone training to finish. You know, you can wait for all sorts of things. I mean, undead players would commonly, when the tier 2 expo strategy first came out for Orc players, undead would really commonly sit there and wait. They would bank at 50 for about a minute or two after this went down, and then they would break and go up to 70 or 80 food, and then they would push it. And the Orc player would be, you know, if they're lucky, sitting at 55 or 60 food, and, you know, that's how the undead players were actually able to, you know, stop Orcs from doing that tier 2 expand strategy, and it worked pretty well. And of course, same concept here that I think we're seeing with Elegant versus Lyn in this game. When he scouted this, he's like, I know I'm ahead, and I know it's going to take a while for that expo to give Lyn any sort of advantage, and so I'm just going to bank on it. And if we look, we can see Lyn is sitting at 46 food, and of course Elegant is sitting at 41 food, but Elegant's tech is way better. And I'm not sure, but I think he doesn't have a Tinker. He doesn't have his third hero yet. Bit of an interesting choice. But hey, of course, these are, you know, these are a lot more units, I think, than what we have down here. So we'll see. Of course, this is level two Tauren Chieftain about to level 3 actually. We can see Lyn doing his best to get to level 3 as quickly as possible on that Tauren Chieftain. And that Blade Master is actually a bit scary. He's got plus 20 damage, 3 claws of attack plus 6, as well as a circlet of nobility. Very, very intriguing. Here comes that Tinker. We can look at, once again, Elegant now sitting at 46 food, Lyn at also 46 food, and Lyn going to come down there, pick up a post scroll of healing on that Blade Master, and he's going to try to utilize that to his advantage. And we will see, of course, there's a potion of invulnerability, that's 15 seconds on the Demon Hunter, and a potion of greater healing on that Naga. Of course, we do see Elegant is behind in terms of experience, and this is about an even fight, except, of course, Elegant's units are much better teched, because it's Adept versus Master, and that works out pretty well in favor probably of Elegant. I think, or at least I wouldn't be surprised to see in this situation Elegant being able to defend himself and actually taking and holding this position. But we'll have to wait and see. And of course, here are some nice Cyclones on the Blade Master as well as the Tauren Chieftain, keeping them, I think, just out of, you know, a proper dispel range. Of course, I'm not really sure you'd want to dispel that anyway. But of course, now we can see that Naga, which is taking a lot of damage, but he will go ahead and pop that potion of greater healing just before that shockwave comes in. That would have finished him off surely. And of course, he does have the staff and the TP on the Naga, and that's one of the reasons I think Lyn is focusing it, despite the fact also, of course, that the Naga is very low on life. But of course, I mean, I said that I think Lyn could, or that I thought, you know, Elegant could hold that position. I was clearly wrong. The Orc player, wowed. That was really, really well done by Lyn. Lyn absolutely decimated that fight. As we can see, he's up to 53 food versus 45 for Elegant. And he forced Elegant to pop a TP as well as use a very expensive 500 gold item, or 500 gold, I think it's a 400 gold item, but it's 500 HP healing. Of course, now you can see the Blade Master is in a terrible spot here. He doesn't have enough mana to windwalk. He is currently surrounded, and he's going to try to get out of this position by killing units, I think, but it's not going to happen. We're going to go ahead and see a Scroll of Healing being popped now by the Night Elf player to heal up those dots. We will see a Cyclone coming in, or I'm sorry, a Scroll of Healing coming in onto those dots, and yeah, we can just see this fight. That went really well for Elegant right there. He just was able to snipe that Blade Master down, and that's going to be very good for him as he comes down here to this expansion once again. And of course, he did kill some of these peons last time. I'm not sure how many of them, but that's going to be one of the goals. Honestly, killing peons is much easier than killing the expansion, and each peon is 75 gold. So if you think about that, you kill 5 peons at 75 gold each. 550, 300, 375 gold, which is about, I think, the same as the Great Hall. Not quite, but I think it's almost exactly the same gold cost. And, you know, of course, it also takes time to rebuild Five Guys. So there, it's pretty expensive. Now, we can't see this Tinker. We'll go ahead and staff in with a Staff of Teleportation. He does have a Scroll of Town Portal, if I can just get the word out. I was like, what is that scroll word? And of course it is scroll. Here we see there's a Fairy Dragon right there, gonna get ensnared, and he's just gonna go ahead and immediately pop Mana Flare, saying, I don't care. Down here we can see the Blade Master trying to be revived from the altar, and of course Lyn gonna come on this Fairy Dragon and say, I'm gonna try to kill this if I can. And instead saying, well, I'll go for the creep first, maybe. Nope, I'm going to go for the Fairy Dragon. He's very, very indecisive about that right here. Of course, we will see there's a Wisp up there for Elegant. Now, it's ridiculous how powerfully tanky those things are, but whatever. We'll see that the altar has gone down. Of course, this expansion has barely been mining. There's only been one guy sitting there mining that for a while, and we will see Lyn being forced to tavern back the Blade Master. Not the ideal situation for Lyn whatsoever. Also not the ideal situation for Lyn on this mining situation down here, just now beginning to finally start to resume mining. And of course you can see that he's about to, I would say he's probably broken even about now on this expansion, but this is considerably later. Of course he's only mined 1.2k gold from that gold mine, but of course, you know, coming up with the amount of units that was lost in that fight, I'm not really sure how much you would call that. I mean, because he did pretty much win the fight at that base at the expansion. But either way, this fight is going to go underway right now. You can see a Raider immediately being the focus target, as well as 2 Cyclones on both heroes, and we will see a fairly delayed dispel actually on the TC as well as the BM. And of course we can just see these dots and archers trying to back up, trying to get behind units. This time we're actually going to see them utilizing these creeps right here, and it looks like these creeps might actually end up going, yes, right on to Elegant's units. As we can see, Lyn will back off and try to say, here creeps, do your job. Of course it's only going to end up giving level 3 to the Naga Sea Witch. Not really the greatest situation, and there's a Slippers of Agility that's going to go onto the Demon Hunter to kind of make him a little bit stronger in this fight. And this is a great little notch for those dots to get back into, and a great spot for that Fairy Dragon to be sitting in Mana Flare, which is going to do some damage to these Spirit Walkers should they decide to do any kind of dispels in this situation, but also to the Tauren Chieftain should he decide to go ahead and cast another Shockwave. And of course, now you can see it looks pretty good for Elegant. Of course, he is forcing Lyn to back off, but maybe Lyn is simply chasing him, or maybe Lyn's going to go for Elegant's base. That is obviously a possibility. We'll see up here. Of course, Elegant has been remaking Druids of the Talon during the situation, and we will now see some of these peons going down. All of them certainly won't die, but there's also no doubt that Lyn is going to get the better end of a base race, so we will see Elegant being forced to TP back any moment now. And here it comes, because of course, as you can see with these 3 raiders here doing their siege damage, 4 raiders in fact, it's not going to be a contest. Will we see a no, none of Lyn's units will actually go down, and it looks like maybe a Druid of the Talon did in fact, which is a little bit unfortunate for Elegant. We do have these 2 peons. I'm not sure quite what they're doing there. And down here we can actually see the Pocket Factory just sitting there, providing some idle work onto this damage, onto this Great Hall, providing that extra damage while this army actually had to TP away. Of course, that is a level 1 Pocket Factory, because that is a level 2 Tinker. And this is actually going to do a lot of damage. As you can see, Pocket Factory is a great building, great skill. It's one of the best in the game, I think, for long kind of hall fights and long kind of hall games, simply because it provides so much control and it provides so much siege damage, and that's really very important to buildings and such. I'm not sure it's actually siege, not technically siege type damage. I think it's normal. I think the little Clockwork Goblins attack with a normal attack damage type, but we'll see it in a second when he summons his next one. And they just explode, I think, just for spell damage or magic. I don't know, but they do damage, and it's a, they're a CG type unit. They're not necessarily, they might do siege damage when they blow up. I have no idea. They do a lot of damage to buildings. I mean, they do like 40 damage or something. Well, it depends. Like at level 3, I think it's like 80 damage, but I don't know. Anyway, anyway, I'm like giving out numbers. I'm like, I don't really remember them, which is bad. I should know these. I used to know these. We're actually going to see a Druid of the Talon going down to a creep. Not really the ideal situation. We'll see the Tome of Intelligence is going to get picked up by the Tinker. I think it was picked up by the Tinker right there, which is a good choice. And we're going to see another Pocket Factory going down right here, simply because this is an area, it's a key area between this base and Lyn's army and Lyn's expansion. And it looks like finally, after a very long time, Elegant's going to buy enough time to go ahead and throw down this expansion. And now we will see these little guys. This is just basically saying, you're going to come through here with some healing salves or whatever, and I'm just going to, it's an early warning for me, and I'm going to do some damage to you, and you're going to maybe try to stop and kill it, and I'm not going to let you really do too much to my army over here, and I'm going to take out your expansion in the meantime. And that's exactly what happened. We'll see that Blade Master coming down here to kill a dot in 1 hit. Of course, that was a very low HP dot, but that's what he did. And he does have, of course, those 3 claws. He did sell the circlet, or maybe give it to the Tauren Chieftain. I think he probably gave it to the Tauren Chieftain. And we can see, of course, Scroll of Healing on the Tauren Chieftain as well as the Blade Master. Yeah, and 2 speed scrolls on that Tauren Chieftain as well. Of course, we can see for Elegant, he has a Scroll of Healing on the Demon Hunter, the Naga, and not on the Tinker, but he does have a Potion of Lesser Invulnerability on the Tinker, Potion of Potion of Invulnerability, 15-second one, still on the Demon Hunter, and of course, we can see a Hellstone now on that Naga. And the Naga, of course, also holding the Scroll of Town Portal, because why not? It's definitely the unit that, Lyn likes to focus. So now this has been a great game so far, and it's not over yet, but I would like to say Elegant definitely has done a great showing so far. With this fight now going underway, once again getting to this notch has been super incredibly useful for Elegant so far in the game, and of course that's been proving to be a massive pain that notch has for Lyn, as he has to expo where he expos is right beside it. So that's been a bit of a problem, and we'll see now one of these Spirit Walkers is certainly going to go down, and we're going to see that Tinker being forced to pop a Potion of Lesser Invulnerability. Of course, the Blade Master doing the same. Of course, we do have that Pocket Factory, so we might get the Tinker getting staffed out here any minute. That's a possibility. Maybe try to keep him in the fight as long as possible until, maybe he can cast something else, but I think he's just trying to get experience at this point, because he's very close to level 3. Getting to level 3 would be very useful. And and then once he hits level 3, he could get staffed out, and he could go ahead and heal up and staff right back in, and immediately pop down a level 2 Pocket Factory, which would be very useful. We will see the Demon Hunter taking a lot of damage. He does actually happen to have the Potion of Invulnerability, which there it is, being going to be very well used right here, actually. As you can see, because Lyn was committing for that fight, trying to commit for the kill, but unfortunately, these units are simply very low on life. We will see a Raider going down. That's going to have level 4 to the Demon Hunter. And of course, if we look up here, we can see that the Tinker going to go ahead and buy a Clarity Potion and TP, getting staffed back back to his base and going to try to TP in down here. Of course, with that clarity potion, he does have enough mana at this point to place down another pocket factory. Question is, will we see that happen, or will he wait for level 3? Because I don't know. Of course, he did just pop, I think, another clarity. I'm not sure. I think I heard the sound, which is a bit of an interesting choice to do when you're in the middle of an entirely large orc army. It's not very large at this point, actually. Maybe it was bait for the guys to turn around a little bit and do a little bit of damage to the Tinker. Of course, unfortunately, if that's the case, then Tinker was some good bait. Ah, he's going to go down. He did. It looks like he had his town portal skull. I'm not really sure. Maybe he didn't. I thought he did. I thought he was about to TP. I thought he got past, but I don't know. He did die, unfortunately for him, and we'll see that Torn Chieftain in the air once again. And now that Torn Chieftain gonna Cyclone or get TP out. As we can see, the Blade Master very, very low, down to 70 life, and turning around just right there, almost getting hit by that Blade Master before he went, but didn't happen. Did take, of course, a dot hit, and he is very low on life at this point. Of course, he's gonna have to start healing up. We can see Lyn down to 42 food and Elegant at 44. Of course, I would say at this point, it's definitely something it would be time to say Elegant is looking at the advantage. It looks like he's doing great, and he did lose a Tinker, but I mean, ultimately, that looked really well for Elegant, I think. And of course, I mean, to just put this into, terms that I think, to recap, yeah, I would say that at the start of the game, Elegant was behind, and then he picked up the Naga, and that was actually that netted him 2 grunt kills, which allowed him to get about 400 gold ahead. And then Lyn said, well, I'm 400 gold behind, let's throw down an expansion, placing me about another 400 gold behind. And Elegant said, okay, to counteract that, what I'll do is I'll simply be very defensive, not take any fights, and then kind of bank up a little bit, try to get as close to 50 food as I can, and then push it. And which worked out pretty well in terms of, like, that's what what he was maybe thinking what he wanted to do. He did, except, Lyn played phenomenal at this fight and was actually able to go ahead and defend that and push it back and do pretty good. And, take a bit of an advantage, which gave him some time for that expansion to kick in and actually start giving him some advantage from having the expansion. And then at that point, Elegant was able to go ahead and take map control somehow. I'm not sure what he did, but he ended up taking map control, which allowed him to kill the expansion, and then he was able to actually start, beating up on Lyn's army. And now we're at this position where both players are kind of creeping. I mean, what a game. Absolutely, what a game. Of course, we have in the middle of the map, we do have Chekpu or Lyn with that level 5 Torn Chieftain now. Of course, Lyn has, he's a long-term player as well, and he knows game's not over till it's over, and he keeps on creeping, trying to get as much of an advantage as he can. Of course, there's a Scourge Bone Chimes on that Demon Hunter. We might see that getting sold. Of course, it's not a bad item for Demon Hunter survivability, so it might not, but it's kind of useless for the rest of his units. Of course, over here we're going to see another great red being creeped out right now by Lyn. He just crept out the mirror for this particular red. He does have now a Crystal Ball as well as a Medallion of Courage. That's 4 int and 4 strength for the hero that he's going to put it on, which is the TC. Of course, he benefits greatly from both strength and int. Of course, so does the Blade Master, but the Blade Master doesn't really have a slot, to dedicate to something that doesn't give him damage. Not really. Or really some kind of concrete survivability, like some kind of immediate survivability. And so, like, such as a potion of healing, or, a potion of invulnerability, or, a TP, or whatever have you. Over here we'll see Elegant just throwing down. He's got an archer sitting right here, and that is an archer that essentially it's scout. That's all that is. It's it's not really too much. It's one of those archers that Elegant wouldn't send a taxi for. if that metaphor makes any sense. I'm not really sure that's actually a metaphor. I'm not really sure what I would call that. That's just nonsensical is what that is. Anyway, we're gonna see a couple of wisps. It looks like going down on the map in various places. And Elegant has actually, of course, he upgraded Nature's Grace, or whatever it's called, to make these guys have 7 armor and to move very quickly for a building, for a big tree at least. And of course, he's moved his main over here to this guy. So, yeah. And now we can see another archer just scouting down here. It's actually the same archer, isn't it? Yeah. It is the same archer. And of course, Elegant trying to get some creeping going on. Finally going to get level 3. Finally on that Tinker. Took him a while, but he will get there. And of course, I'm not sure why he actually went ahead and cycled this guy. I mean, it does do poison damage, so it does some AoE annoying poison damage in the daytime now. So maybe he'll just send those Pocket Factory goblins over there and let that finish him off. But that's not... Yeah, that's the only reason I can think he did it. And yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's a lot of mana, but whatever. you can see that Lyn coming in here, trying to do a little bit of base racing, but Elegant's like, I'm coming back. And Lyn's all like, fine, I'll leave your base alone. Jeez, you could have just asked, you know. Of course, we have Elegant. He does have an expansion going up. It's basically up, actually. It's running. It's basically his main. It's walked over there, as well as some buildings to defend that. Of course, 2 Ancient of Winds. And, you know, he's got good scout. He knows that Lyn doesn't have an expansion, and so Lyn's like, I gots to do something careful here. He's going to start base racing, because why not? And of course, we can see a fight now going underway finally. Not maybe what Lyn wants to do. Of course, this is not a good position for EleGant. He's going to go ahead and TP out. He says, yeah, this is not my position. He can't TP to his base. He has to TP to this guy. So he TPs over there, brings him to the left, and that's going to give a little bit of time for Lyn to go ahead and try to take down some buildings. And that shot took quite some time. Of course, he also went for that pocket factory right there, which was a pretty big delay. And we can see a lot of damage has been done to Lyn's army. Just from that pocket factory alone, pretty much. I mean, there was a little bit of damage in that fight, but not really a lot. A lot of that came from my throat not apparently working. A lot of that came just from that pocket factory and those little clockwork goblins blowing up, doing AoE damage to spirit-linked units. And indeed, now we do have this fight going underway at EleGant's base. It looks good, I think, for EleGant. I think EleGant can win this fight. He's near his Moonwells. So we'll see, though. Of course, if he gets staffed out, he won't be near here, but that's one downside. Of course, we can see in the back, these Raiders taking a lot of damage back here, and not the greatest shockwave right there. It only got 1 dot. It maybe hit 2 dots, I think. And those dots, of course, the rest of them just kind of moved out of the way. They kind of foresaw it coming. That one was a pretty good one. It hit the hero right there. Of course, in the 2 dots. And we can actually see these Raiders somehow staying alive miraculously. Of course, finally we're going to see a couple of those going down. Just really, though, nicely done. While he's trying to micro these dots away from those shockwaves, you know, those Raiders were able to stay alive and be maneuvered and properly microed. And we will see that the Demon Hunter has been staffed over there. Now, that's one potential problem, is that he's now on the opposite side of the fight to his Moonwells, and that's not really an ideal situation for the Demon Hunter. So he's got to be a little bit careful in this fight, and we're actually going to go ahead and see Lyn calling good game. So that is a good game, and that's game 2. And actually, I lied. It's not a best of 3. It's a best of 2, apparently. Who would have thought? Wow, amazing. WRL, so cool. Or if it is a best of 3, the 3rd game's not up. So that's... These are not very satisfactory, are they? They're like, it's like, I want a game 3. I want to know who won one. But apparently there isn't a game 3, so that's unfortunate. Sorry. I actually didn't know that going into this. I thought it was a best of 3. I thought there was going to just be a 2-0. So in my head, I was like, geez, can Lyn actually win this? There's no way. There's no way. How could he win this? But yeah, so there you go. He didn't win. That was still a great game. Absolutely great job from EleGant. And of course, Lyn did well in the last game as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed those 2 games. If you didn't check game out 1, then I just totally spoiled it for you and I forgot about that. Sorry. But you can click right there and watch it. And that's the 2 games for today. So I will see you guys next time. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I think I said that backwards. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.